Whenever I have to pick one, that's when somebody comes over, that's the magazine, okay.
Minutes.
Sorry that they are only being handed out now.
Well,
Wow.
I haven't seen it, it was
I
only
haven't
Tuesday.
seen you since the other day.
Half hour ago.
And there are 2 commas after November 15th, which I corrected in your version that you received online. But I was running out of printer ink, and I didn't really want to print out 7 new copies with 1 comma.
All right. Take
Circle
a
and hand it back
take a
to
moment
you.
to read those over, and I'd like to have a motion.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes stand approved as written. Thank you, Trish. Tonight we're going to go through the remainder of the charter and finish it up as our first run through. And then I have some input from a citizen that we'll review, and we'll talk about next steps. And I had an interesting talk with Jeff Forbes today, and that will be helpful to us in that. So anyway, what I'd like to do is have you get your unless there's any other additions to the agenda. That's the plan for tonight. Is that all right? Okay. We're going to start with Article 7, Taxation and Borrowing. And Dave, why don't we start at this end of the table with you tonight?
All right, section 7.01, power to incur indebtedness. Municipality may incur indebtedness upon the authorization of the council by issuing its bonds and notes in anticipation of bonds persistent to this article to finance any capital project that the council may decide to construct or acquire. Should I read a few of these?
Yeah, why don't you read the next
Okay.
two? And then
Section 7.02, issuance of bonds. Council shall authorize the issuance of bonds or notes by ordinance passed by the affirmative votes of at least the majority of its members. Section 7.03, procedure and bond issue. In all respects not provided for otherwise in this chapter, the procedure followed in the authorization of and issuing of bonds and notes and applying the proceeds shall be in accordance with the provisions of the Uniform Bond Law as established by the Revised Code of Ohio and applicable provisions of the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
okay, good. Any comments, questions? Does it feel clear? It's necessary.
And they can only borrow for capital purposes.
Correct.
So far.
Yeah. I believe that's correct, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it is. All right. So those are okay as written?
All of those okay?
I think so. Because it has the power to do it, how they're issued, and the procedure in a bond issue. So it's laid out pretty close. Okay, Mick?
Section 704, short-term borrowing. At any time in any budget year when council shall determine that revenues will, for any reason, be insufficient to meet authorized expenditures. It may be by ordinance, borrow money, and or issue notes. These notes may be of 3 different types. 1, those issued to finance emergency appropriations when an appropriated available revenues are insufficient for that purpose. I'll do that again after I'm clear. Those issued to finance emergency appropriations when unappropriated available revenues are insufficient for that purpose. 2, those issued in anticipation of the collection of taxes upon real estate and income. 3, those issues in anticipation of the collection of other types of revenue. These notes shall be signed by the mayor and the manager on behalf of the municipality. In case of public emergency, as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code, the council of the municipality may borrow money for any municipal purpose valid under the Constitution of Ohio or this charter to the extent of a maximum debt limitations imposed by this charter and the Constitution. and may create debt in any form and under a procedure not in conflict with the express prohibition of Constitution and laws of Ohio and or this charter.
You might as well finish this.
Section 705 Municipal Earnings Tax Limitation. Council may not increase the municipal income tax without submission of the question of levying such additional tax to the electors of the municipality at a primary, general, or special election.
Okay, good, thank you. All right.
So 7.04 is saying you can really borrow for any purpose on the Constitution.
Well, it has the purposes lined out for every place, and, you need help.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, I hate that when I hear it in the movies.
You're trying to be quiet, and the harder you try, the louder it gets.
It smells good anyway.
But anyway, so it lines out the purposes for which we can borrow, you know, and it's for short-term borrowing.
And I can't remember if we actually ever did that. I think before we did the charter, we had to borrow years ago when we were running tight. And that may have been about the time we did the income tax, maybe just before I got here. Because we only got payouts twice a year, and then we're gonna be payroll so tight that take a note out at the bank that had to be paid back. And most of the short-term borrowing is, as we always anticipated, had to be paid back by the end of the year.
So it was borrowed from the bank, from a
Right.
short-term loan,
Yeah,
and those are always pricey.
right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about it? And the community is protected because council cannot levy income tax without it being placed on a ballot and electorate voting. Okay.
Are we to Article 8?
You ready to go?
Nominations, elections, and qualifications. 8.01, effective state law. Except as otherwise provided in this charter, the laws of the state of Ohio or amendments thereto shall govern the nominations and election of elected officers of the municipality.
Keep going.
8.02, vacancies. In case of death, disqualification, removal from office, or resignation of the mayor, the president pro tem of council shall become the mayor for the unexpired term of the mayor, but shall cease to be a council member. Whenever the office of a council member shall become vacant for any reason, the vacancy shall be filled by a majority vote of all the remaining members of council. A vacancy in the office of president pro tem of council shall be filled by the vice president pro tem for a becoming president pro tem, whatever, of council. And the office of vice president pro tem shall be filled by a council member being elected to the office of vice president pro tem by a majority vote of the remaining members of council. In the event council shall fail to fill any vacancy within 30 days from the date such vacancy occurs, then the power of council to do so shall lapse, and the mayor shall fill it by appointment. The person elected or appointed to fill a vacancy shall have the qualifications for the particular office specified in this chapter, this charter, and shall hold office for the unexpired term.
Okay. Questions?
I have written here, who is that, what is it, pro tempore, or how do you pronounce that?
We say President Pro Tem because it's easier.
Okay. Who, do you know, is that clear of who that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Glenn Dries
Oh, it
is
would
right
be
now.
Glenn, and is that kind of like the vice mayor
Right.
type
Yes.
of thing? Okay.
Yes.
So that would go back to like, I think Article 2, where you have to or
The council rules.
The
council
Yeah,
rule
okay.
and
appointing
That's a free
somebody.
decision, it's not related to being chairman of any other committee or any other process.
No, and in fact, it's in the rules of council that every January, the council, and so it doesn't stay the same all the time. They rotate that around some. But it used to be that when we had a mayor's court, if the mayor was gonna be gone for any reason, that the president pro tem had to step in as the, managing the mayor's court. So that limited how many of us wanted to do that. It was a bigger job, and you had to have more skills, more training and everything. Now the magistrate does that, that doesn't hang over your head, but if anything happens to the mayor, you have to be ready to go and take on all the responsibilities of being mayor. So it's a serious commitment. Any other
Just
questions?
real quick, about that, it's probably it doesn't pertain to this, but who makes that decision? Is that something that council
What
decides? Who
decision?
pro tem? Who is, how
Council elects it.
elects
An
the
elected.
one to be
Yeah.
the pro tem? Okay.
And they're done, it's done publicly. I mean, in the first meeting,
Oh, okay.
somebody
Yeah.
nominates, and there may be two people, and we have a ballot, we'll write
Okay.
down a silent vote.
Like who among the,
Yeah,
and then is that person has to be a council member, right?
Yes.
That would be among
yes.
council.
And they have to be willing. I mean, they're contacted to see if they would be willing to do it
Oh,
before
yeah.
they're even nominated.
Right.
And then the vice president backs up. So once in a rare while, vice president will run the meeting, or will sit in as the mayor.
It's back in 2.07.
Oh, okay.
Page 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's part of the
So,
annual
we're
January
saying these are okay?
assignment.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions about it? Okay. All right, Heidi?
Section 803, removal from office. The office of an elected official or member of a board or commission of the municipality shall be declared vacant by resolution of council upon determination that an elected official, A, does not possess or has ceased to possess the qualifications of office as provided herein, B, has failed to take the required oath or affirmation, C, while in office has been convicted of or entered a plea of guilty to a felony or a crime involving moral turpitude. At first meeting in each calendar year, no, I gotta turn the page from, I went backwards. I was like,
Yeah.
there we go,
D.
D. Has been justified mentally and
Adjudicate.
adjudicated, what is, I guess.
Judged.
Yeah, judged. E, is guilty of gross misconduct, gross neglect of duty, misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance of office. F, has violated the oath or affirmation of office. G, has not disclosed or written a conflict, has not disclosed or in writing a conflict of interest in addition to the grounds for removal provided above. Council may remove any of its members for persistent failure to abide by the rules of council, or for absence without justification, excuse from 3 consecutive meetings. The decision of council to remove an elected official or member of a board or member of council after public hearing upon the charge or charges brought. And provided further that the accused elected official shall have been notified in writing of the charge or charges against the official at least 15 days in advance of such public hearing. And provided further that the elected official or member of a board or commission or the council for the elected official or member of the board or commission shall have been given an opportunity to be heard, present evidence and examine witnesses appearing in support of each charge or charges. A member of council shall not vote upon the question of the member of council's own removal. The decision of council after compliance with this section shall be final. The elected official so removed shall not be eligible for appointment to the vacancy created thereby.
Okay. All right.
Can I
Is-
ask,
yeah.
on, member of a board or commission of the municipality?
We're a commission, so a member of us.
Oh, well, I'm
Or-
just wondering if we're defined as a commission as opposed to a committee to review.
I think we are. I think we're mayors.
I think we're called the
Commission.
Charter
Mayor's
Commission.
Greenhills Charter Review Commission.
Commission.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's all those committees that were listed with the members that
Yeah.
we talked about on
The
Tuesday.
zoning and
that-
planning.
Recreation.
Recreation. Yeah.
It might, in some
Got more
cases,
tenure than I thought here.
say
Yeah.
committee versus
Behave.
commission. I've seen both.
What, the safety
I've
committee?
seen language where it's commission and language where it's a committee. Like I've,
Well, they aren't all, they are
Yeah.
different.
right,
They are
I'm
different.
saying I've seen both,
Yeah, like the safety committee is a committee of council.
right.
Commissions are often appointed by the
Sure.
mayor, or as the mayor's appointment. And they're longer duration usually. The committees of council are finance committee, safety committee. I created a community development committee, but that isn't a standing one.
Laws and rules.
Laws
Well,
and
if
rules.
we look back at Article 6, there's a planning commission.
Mhm.
Board of Zoning Appeals is not defined as a commission.
No.
I'm just going back
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
parallel
Yeah.
construction, it should be clear.
Mhm.
Recreation Commission, I understand. Tax Board of Review, that's a board, so that'd creep in.
I think all the commissions are appointed. And committees, are kind of recruited or are a subcommittee of council.
I'm sorry, you're defining board and commission?
No, I think, I said commissions and maybe boards, I don't know. And
Well, in here it says,
members of the
a
boards
member of a
and
board or
commissions.
commission, so.
Some of them are established by the charter or by ordinance. But many of these are appointed by the mayor.
It seems like most of the language in here refers to either a board or a commission. I haven't seen the terminology in
Committee.
here, committee.
No,
They may be interchangeable, but,
I don't think that.
okay, then,
We can come back to it. It looks like board, the members are appointed by the mayor. Commissions, the council approves the members.
I don't know.
well,
Since
I
that
know
was not
whenever,
defined.
like, for example, when I was on the Recreation Commission, I know all the names were presented to the council and they all approved. And I believe the same thing happened with this commission. I think all of us,
We're
Were named.
commissions.
and then, yes, we were presented by the mayor, everybody voted yes.
All of these say-
Tax board is saying appointed by the mayor.
Yeah,
Board of Health is appointed by the mayor.
now, all of these say appointed by the mayor with the approval of council. That's planning commission,
Zoning board.
zoning, recreation, that it always says appointed by the mayor with approval of council.
I
Okay,
think
so
it's in a commission like something that's in the charter that has to be done, you know, every so many years, or it's in a committee, that would be a commission, he's gonna commission to do that. But when it's a committee, it's kinda like, if a problem comes up, hey, let's put together a committee. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
some of the
more-
committee, yeah, some of the committees are for a
informal type
specific
of thing.
purpose and are pulled together within, a committee of council is different than these commissions.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I don't see where we can establish a committee.
Well, that would be under the rules of council instead of the charter.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
within the charter. you
Yeah,
can't-
that's more an administrative thing, yeah. So, that's the hardest, to me, that's the hardest part of the charter is, remembering the layers, and that this is the umbrella, the charter is the umbrella governing rules. And then there's a lot underneath that, on different levels, and, so how to stay up here sometimes is challenging.
So we're gonna call that okay?
Well, are there any other questions about it? Because this is the only, well, that's the first one. Any other questions or discussion about
Appointment.
removal from office?
I'm thinking grammatically, I don't know the difference between misfeasance, malfeasance, or
I know,
malfeasance.
Age you
Yeah.
too.
It sounds like a lot of legalese, you know. But before we're done with this, let's understand that. It's quiet, it's so hot in here. Let's just see if it's gonna be quiet or open this
Misfeasance,
again.
malfeasance, non-feasance.
We're done with it.
I can make a note for myself to Google these when I get home and.
Okay, we'll check on those definitions to make sure we're all on the same.
And I think one is malfeasance, you maliciously did something wrong.
Well, right,
Misfeasance was a mistake.
accidentally, right.
Okay.
And non is
Non is not doing anything.
failure to do what you're supposed to do, I think,
Yes.
yeah. We'll double check those.
Pat threw these terms to me a lot.
Mhm.
So George uses that on me, can I
And
call
you're,
you?
Which were
I'm
you?
sure you're guilty of them all.
Were you non-feasance?
I don't remember.
Malfeasance.
All of them.
She used all the above.
One day or another. Okay, Trish, we're ready for 8.04.
I'm gonna go down through the end of C.
Sure.
Initiative, referendum, recall. A, initiative. The electors of the municipality shall have the power to propose ordinances and other measures by initiative petition in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and laws of Ohio now or hereafter in effect. B, referendum. The electors of the municipality shall have the power to approve or reject at the polls any ordinance or other measure enacted by council in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and laws of Ohio now or hereafter in effect. C, recall. The electors of the municipality shall have the power to remove from office by recall election any elected official of the municipality. If an elected official shall have served 6 months of the term, a petition demanding removal may be filed with the municipal clerk, who shall note thereon the name and address of the person filing the petition and the date of such filing, and deliver to such person a receipt therefor and attach a copy thereof to said petition. The petition may be circulated in separate parts, but the separate parts shall be bound together and filed as one instrument. Each part shall contain the name and office of the person whose removal is sought, and a statement in not more than 200 words of the grounds for the removal. Such petition shall be signed by at least that number of electors, which equals 25% of the total number of electors voting at the last preceding regular municipal election. Within 10 days after the day on which such petition shall have been filed, the clerk of council shall determine whether or not it meets the requirements hereof. If the said clerk shall find the petition insufficient, the clerk shall promptly certify the particulars in which the petition is defective, deliver a copy of the certificate to the person who filed the petition, and make a record of such delivery. You're all turning the page. I am now too. If such official shall not resign within 5 days after the day on which delivery shall have been made, the council shall thereupon fix a day for holding a recall election, not less than 60 days, nor more than 75 days after the date of such delivery. At such recall election, this question shall be placed on the ballot. Shall, naming the official, be allowed to continue as naming the office, with provision being made on the ballot for voting affirmatively or negatively on such question. If a majority of the votes cast at such election shall be voted affirmatively, such official shall remain in office. If a majority of the votes cast shall be voted negatively, such official shall be considered as removed, the office shall be declared vacant, and such vacancy shall be filed as provided by this charter. The official removed by such recall election shall not be eligible for appointment to the vacancy created thereby.
You thought that one page was enough, didn't you?
Wrote this.
You were trying to cheat on us, weren't you?
Thereby, thereof.
Let's talk about A first. Is everybody clear and okay with that? How about B? Any questions or concerns about a referendum? Okay. And the recall, C.
Is the recall kind of general, I'm sure it's probably generally in line with what other municipalities in the state.
It has to be within the state law, and it's pretty standard.
Is the shall have served 6 months of the term somehow related to state law?
It probably does, because if a person's been elected by the general population, the electorate, and someone tries to get them out in less than the first 6 months, they're barely getting their feet wet. I mean, they're barely getting started, and it would probably be very tempting for people that lose an election to go after that for the wrong reason if it was less than 6 months. You know, if there was no chance for the person to take hold of their office and do anything in the office. It's like giving them no fair chance, sort of.
I guess I'm thinking if, you know, that long list of misfeasance, malfeasance, if somebody has a moral turpitude thing 4 months into their council role and council blows by it, they know that's, you know, he was just being one of the guys, it wasn't, you know, anything.
Well,
And then later on, maybe after that amount of time, it might find
no,
out.
I think you're missing a petition demanding the removal may be filed. Probably council would take action, you know, if it's for moral reasons.
What I'm wondering is if
Yeah.
council says, oh, that's just a good old boy, that's not
Yeah,
a
if
big
they look the
deal.
other way,
They look the other way,
yeah.
what's the, you know, maybe it's Jeff Ford's question of why is the 6 months
Oh,
in there?
okay.
So if I was elected and I started serving in January and I committed a malfeasance 5 times in the first month, council could overlook that, whereas the public would have to wait 6 months before they could say, oh, we're done with her malfeasance, her misfeasance and non-feasance. They have to wait 6 months.
Yeah, but it's very
For
doubtful.
all of council to ignore it, I mean.
Yeah.
It seems
That-
unlikely
yeah.
that.
Because it
Seems unlikely
cripples
that everybody-
council. I mean, you know, council are all individuals that learn to work together.
Right.
They're not all buddies, and they often will put on a good public face, but they are not about to put up with a lot of mischief or, you know, people that start missing meetings and they're not on a business trip and they haven't been excused and so on. It cripples us, you know,
Right.
it becomes quite irritating.
Your time is valuable as
I'm-
theirs, yeah.
I'm fine with tabling it if we can ask Jeff,
Yeah.
why is it 6 months as
Okay.
opposed to 3 months or 12 months or whatever?
The term,
And it's not an aspersion against anybody.
no, it's just,
I'm just wondering why the 6 months is
yeah.
there.
Okay,
And it's probably because of the charter we copied that from, is how they had it.
Yes,
Because a lot of this was
well, there's,
Purpose
reviewing
of
of other charters and putting
Purpose
bits
of
and
the
pieces
review
together.
is to see if we can improve
Yeah.
it for
Right.
for the common good.
right, exactly. Okay, Article 9, are we ready, everybody? Article 9, Merit System, Section 9.01, Civil Service, Classified and Unclassified. Upon achievement of city status, appointments and promotions in the administrative service of the city shall be made according to merit and fitness pursuant to rules provided by council, which rules shall supersede and override state statutes, including state civil service statutes and rules. The classified service of the city shall include all offices and positions of the city except the following, which constitute unclassified offices and positions. A, members of council. B, the clerk of council and or clerk of court. C, the mayor. D, the manager. E, department heads. F, members of boards and commissions appointed by council. G, other positions as recommended by the manager with the approval of council. We need to stop there and, take that all in.
This is where I started zoning out this afternoon.
Is it? Well, civil service, we don't have to worry about that right now. And this is only in the case that we become a city status. But it needs to be in there just in case, so it would bridge that time. Any questions or concerns about that?
I'm sorry. If the manager wants to promote somebody to department head and we've become a city, what does all that mean?
Well, if the manager promotes to a department head, it says except the following, which constitute unclassified offices and positions. I think it means that they don't have to be a civil service. They don't have to pass a civil service exam.
That would be a totally new ballgame. If we're a city, there's all kinds of things that change.
Well, in section 9.02, once we have a civil service system created, rules have to be established for appointments, promotions, and that sort of thing, which the Civil Service Board would have oversight over.
And until that, the rules of council supersede the state statutes until this is done, apparently. It's like it's a sequential transition.
What makes us a city? We've done 5,000.
5,000.
Where are we at now?
3,500 maybe, 3,300.
Going down.
We were a city.
In the absence of being a city, what are the rules for promotion? Is it something other than merit and fitness?
It's each department has its own set of rules. The police department.
Well, police department's carved out because the chief of police
Right.
can make recommendations and
Right.
discipline and
Yeah.
those kinds of things. The general clerk, if somebody's
Like
being
the clerk of
promoted,
council?
not a, I'm thinking of the manager's role.
Okay, well, the manager would do her appointments and promotions from, in the service department or in the tax office, if there was more than one person, or hiring a person, that sort of thing.
Based on,
Well, it's back here,
Rules
she has
of
full
merit.
authority to do that.
Yeah,
She,
and have they established I think they've established an employee's manual
yes, yeah,
that spells out how you do some of these things.
which has been approved by council. So it's administrative authority.
Okay, so council is setting the rules for nepotism or
Yeah,
any
approving
other
all of that, yeah.
things. Okay.
And back in, section 4.03, no, not 403, the, municipal manager, and then the powers and duties on the next page, 405, has the powers and duties of the manager. And it talks about the manager's ability to hire and appoint, some criteria for the financial manager is listed out. But the council approves all hires. The manager can hire, but council approves the hires.
I'm reading section 4.05A. Manager shall appoint, and when the manager deems it necessary, suspend, remove, or otherwise discipline all municipal employees appointed by the manager except as provided by the charter. I don't see where that's addressing the rules for the general clerk.
The general clerk, what,
There's gotta be like an accounts payable clerk or.
oh, the
Oh, that's the
finance
finance
manager.
Office.
Well, and then we have that.
That's the finance.
Finance, it's the,
Back like that.
505.
Finance
The finance
director.
director.
Uh-huh.
I guess I'm thinking there's a larger workforce
No,
than
we-
there is.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
They don't fill this table, the staff here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen 3 or 4 people.
yeah, it's,
Counting the manager.
Yeah.
yeah,
Not counting the service department.
Right.
and not counting all the police officers.
Not counting police,
Right,
not
that's a
counting
whole
fire.
different,
Yeah.
Right. People in this is their hub.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, when I left, I think we had 14 full-time people, including the police department.
Including, yeah. Shrunk,
Not counting council. Just-
no,
Right.
no.
Okay.
Any other questions around that?
So as far as such things as nepotism, that's not addressed anywhere in the charter from,
No, not in the charter.
okay.
And, I think the council is always alert to it, but sometimes there's reasons why somebody has the skills and ability we're after, that we're looking for.
Well,
Yeah, so it's,
the charter is silent on that kind of
Yes.
concern.
Yes.
Is where we are.
yes, mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the civil service, in a way, I could say, we don't even need this in here, but we do in case it would happen, and without reviewing or trying to scramble and create a new charter if we saw it coming. But that would be quite a boom if we have that many new
I
residents.
say if we
moving.
get
That makes sense.
if we get 750 more new residents, then we can review this again.
They can,
They.
Instead of the 10 years?
yeah.
Right.
It
But
would
We
be
by
actually
how
see
many people
750
we have
more
in the
people in our
community.
community.
It'd be an emergency.
We'll call it, that will qualify as an emergency.
Emergency charter review commission, yeah, okay. Dave, you wanna take
Okay.
classified service?
Yeah, section 9.02, classified service. Council shall provide rules including procedures for the determination of merit and fitness as a basis for appointment, promotions, and council shall provide rules for demotions, suspensions, removals, and discipline in the classified service. All rules provided by council shall supersede and override state statutes, including state civil service statutes and rules. Want to do the next one?
Unless, these are things maybe there's question about, anybody,
It's only triggered if we achieve city status.
Right. okay.
And we're gonna have our emergency meeting at 7:50.
Okay.
Section 9.03. Civil Service Board. Upon achievement of city status, there shall be a Civil Service Board of 3 members appointed by council whenever it is deemed necessary to serve for the purpose and during the period specified in the ordinance creating the board. Each member of the Civil Service Board shall be a qualified elector. The Civil Service Board shall serve without compensation and shall be established to hear appeals whenever any official or employee in the competitive services feels aggrieved by any such action of the manager or council, or is suspended, reduced, or removed, and requests such hearing. The board shall have the power to subpoena witnesses and require the production of records, have such other powers and duties established by council. Procedures for the operation of the board shall be set by council. All rules and procedures provided by council shall supersede and override state statutes, including state civil service statutes and rules.
In other words, what this is saying is that Greenhills wants to take care of their own, their own discipline, their own hearing.
Is competitive service defined anywhere? We have classified and unclassified. What's meant by competitive service?
Where are you looking, Ken?
Right in the middle.
Oh, right in the middle of it, okay.
9.03. Sentences starts whenever any official or employee in the competitive service feels aggrieved by any action of the manager or council. What is competitive service?
I don't know, we might have to ask Jeff.
If that's the police department.
It may mean, as I'm thinking it means, is a person that's covered by civil service.
Or paid, a paid employee.
Yeah, well, or somebody that's not an unclassified, so a classified employee.
Oh, okay.
Because all the classified
Mhm.
employees would conceivably be competitive for promotion kind of thing
Right.
within their ranks.
Mhm.
But I'm not positive if that's how that means or not.
Is semantically, can we clarify that
Yeah.
somehow?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Mick, Article 10.
Section 10.01, separability. If any provision, section, or part of a section of this charter is held invalid by a court, the other provisions of this charter, section, or part of a section shall not be invalidated thereby. City status. The term municipality as used in this charter shall, upon achievement of city status, be construed as city and editorially altered in all new copies after this achievement.
Okay.
3, this charter shall be submitted to the electors at a special election of October 25, 1988, and I guess was that our
That was
original?
reviewed before.
Mhm.
Yeah. All elected officials shall hold office until the expiration of their terms, when the next elected officials shall serve as indicated in the separate section of this charter. All other employees of the municipality as of the effective date of this charter shall continue to such employment, and thereafter shall be subject in all respects to the provisions of this charter and ordinances, resolutions, rules, or regulations enacted or promulgated thereunder.
Okay.
It's just cleaning stuff.
Given we're at least close to 20 years past
Yeah,
transitional procedures, can we
Right.
just delete that paragraph?
well, that's my question, yeah, I wonder if we need that.
So.
I would think the only thing it would be utilized for would be, if we were gonna submit a change, wouldn't we have to, this charter should be submitted to electors at the special election of whatever, 2013.
Yeah,
If approved, shall become effective whatever, 2013 or
Oh,
2014.
yeah.
Would be the only thing that I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Then that would change every time you did it, wouldn't it? like almost every time the charter was reviewed, it would,
Yeah, my question
That-
is if this was when it originated.
Right.
As
All-
opposed
all-
to being
all the
reviewed.
language is talking
Yeah.
to
Right.
1988, 1989.
Okay,
wasn't
And if
there a
anybody-
charter before that
No.
though?
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
there was a statute?
Right,
So,
Statutory.
Oh, I thought
When
that
it was
this was just last
amended,
time it was reviewed.
November 8th, 2011, was that amended? Was
That
it something
was
put on?
following an election.
Right, it was put on the ballot.
Yeah,
it was,
so it's.
And
a-
yet they didn't change this part of it for
No,
that.
it doesn't change anything else except the one thing,
Okay, okay.
just like
So that
here.
wouldn't change then.
Yeah, like here it says, even in 10:01, if any provision, section, or part of the section of this charter is held invalid by a court, the other provisions of this charter, section, or part of the section shall not be invalidated thereby. And it means that each one stands by itself if some correction or,
Yeah, that's more a legal,
yeah,
you're referring to the election and what
Right,
residents voted on.
What their
you know, 'cause
desire
there-
is.
There was a piece that had three components, clarifying open meetings, term limits, and something on referendums or
Yeah.
Mhm.
some, and three separate pieces, only one of them was approved by the electorate.
right.
So that's what became effective or amended right after the election.
right.
Right, but
That's-
that
that's the
doesn't
law.
change this,
Doesn't change
it doesn't
anything
change the
else.
transitional, okay,
No,
Okay.
The transition happened over 20 years ago.
Okay.
right.
And a little bit of history on that, you know, the intent was not to have a special election, but by the way the state law was when the issue was passed in the general election for creating the charter commission to establish a charter to be voted on within a year. And what turned out happened was the election that it was voted on was an early November election. And before the next general election, it was more than a year. And so it had to be voted on within a year, and so that's why we had to have an election right before the
Okay.
general election. Which
Oh,
none of us
yeah.
were happy about, but that's the way
Oh,
the state
right,
law
just
read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
October
That costs a lot
25th,
more.
1988.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And when that was passed, nobody really, you know, we figured, well, it's a year from this election to the next election, that was more.
When it got
Then
down
one
to
year.
it, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
We couldn't get the state legislature to make a change.
Is that what
Yeah.
For just such a short time, you know, a few months.
I wasn't old enough to vote on it, but if I had been, I'm sure I would have approved it.
Yeah, you had to say that.
We can put that in the minutes,
Has she
please.
been known to lie?
Could I have a
lot?
gummy for that?
Has she been known to lie a lot?
All right.
She knows?
We're not done yet.
Okay.
Ken, will you finish us?
Uh,
Article 11?
Article 11, enumeration of powers. Section 11.01, enumeration of powers. Any enumeration of powers contained herein shall not limit the scope of a general grant of power to the same body or office. And I'm taking that to mean we're not gonna nitpick on language. If somebody says city manager, your contracting officer, your purchasing agent, you can appoint people, but you can't hire people.
Yeah.
All that's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh, it was
we
such
should
a
all
great reading.
jump up and down or something here and celebrate. I want to, discuss several things because we're ready for another phase. And, Trish has been, and I've been kind of noting in the margins of mine, and you have yours, what we want to go back to, and what we've highlighted is we have questions. And some of the things we've said, we need to ask Jeff. So I talked to him today because I wanted to know in what form we need to do that. How do we do that? Do we invite him back? You know, so he recommended that we list the things where we say, ask Jeff. And because some of them he may need to research to make sure that, our questions get answered. And so I'm going to submit that to him next week, a list of those things. But we will be able to move forward and go back to the things that aren't specifically, we've had information given to us, for example, on 2.06. Several people called that to our attention when we were barely, aware of what we were doing here. And so we have those that we can begin working on. And, so I think we'll list those, and in fact, I'm gonna ask Tricia, she'll make a list of them.
Yeah, cause everything that anyone said ask Jeff,
Yeah.
I wrote Jeff's name by, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight those in orange.
Would you
Mhm.
mind circulating it, just?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll